Hey, Danny Matta here with Physical Therapy Biz, and today I want to talk a little bit about paid marketing and the metrics and really the KPIs that you need to be tracking very closely and why they can make such a massive difference in your practice, especially over an extended period of time. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Danny Matta. I'm the founder of a company called Physical Therapy Biz, which is a company that helps cash and hybrid practices really start and scale their practices all over the U.S. and Canada, some internationally, but mainly in the U.S. To date, we've helped over 1,000 practices both start and scale, and what we really help do is help clinicians understand how to actually not just be great clinicians, but be great business owners as well as great clinicians. So today, what I'm going to talk about is really understanding some basic information, some basic numbers when it comes to your marketing. Because if you want to dip your toe into the world of digital marketing, which is great because it can very much help you scale new patients, there are plenty of things you need to understand about that, but probably the most important thing is to understand what numbers you need to track, right? This is no different than, like for me, I always equate sort of what we do in business to what I would do as a clinician. So I wouldn't necessarily just subjectively just track how somebody's doing. Hey, how do you feel today, right? Comparison to last visit, which is fine. That's a great metric to have. I would also want to see some quantitative data as well, right? Some objective differences in terms of what they're physically able to do. Maybe it's a gamut of tests we're doing if we're getting back to like return to sport or something to that effect. And you're going to have a lot more effective outcomes with somebody if you're actually tracking things objectively and subjectively. So when we look at marketing, digital marketing, one of the nice things about it is very objective. We can see metrics in a way that you kind of can't with local marketing as well, because it's more brand development versus this is very much, you're trying to find people and you can tie revenue or ad spend, I should say, money you're putting in to revenue you get on the back end. Versus, let's say I am, doing local networking with folks. I might be able to say, oh, that person came from this relationship that I have. But sometimes that is difficult to say because there's a lot of touch points and factors associated with it. So that's more brand development and what I consider more sort of farming, right? So you're like planting seeds and those seeds are going to grow at some point and bear fruit. But with digital marketing, it's more hunting, right? So you're going out and actually like trying to find people that can work with you. And the mixture of the two works really, really well. But the mistake I see with people with digital marketing is they actually they spend money. Maybe they outsource it to another company, which there's nothing wrong with getting somebody else to do that for you, assuming they know what they're doing, but they're not necessarily tracking anything. So they don't know if it's effective. So they're doing one of two things. Either they turn something off that maybe isn't working, but maybe it is, which would suck, because if it's working and you turn it off because you don't know it's working, that's really not a good place to be because you could have scaled your new patient volume through that. Or you don't know if it's working or not, and maybe it's not working. You just keep it running because you're not sure, and you don't want to actually just turn it off because maybe it is working, right? But you don't have to guess with these things as much as be good at tracking things. So somebody told me one time, was that one of my first mentors I had in business, especially when it came to marketing. They said, good marketing is more about being a good detective than anything else. You're basically figuring out the right things to track and what areas you need to improve because, the lead generation side of it, there's some complexity to that, but really it comes down to, are you looking at the right numbers to make the right decisions? So there's a few KPIs that I want to go over that will keep it very simple. And imagine if you look at the screen share of this, imagine that your marketing is like a funnel, right? And there's people who are going to come into the top of it, and they're going to kind of drop off towards the bottom based on different interactions they had, both digitally and then with people. So let's say that you have a web page that you're sending people to via traffic from whatever source you want, Google, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And let's say on that page, the call to action is to talk to your team to see if they can help you with, the thing that you have that's bothering you, right? So whatever it is, and however you want to set that ad up to target those people. You're getting them to a page where they can basically book a time to chat with you, or they can call your staff, or maybe it's a special offer of some sort, whatever it is. In this scenario, we're going to assume that it's going to a discovery call where they're talking to somebody on your team. In most cases, it's either going to be an administrative individual or it's going to be the owner of the company. So in this scenario, let's say we're spending $2,000 in ads. Okay, so this is what's going in. I'm spending $2,000, and that's going to this platform that's going to put my advertising in front of people, key people that hopefully you can target pretty well. And let's say on average, I'm getting a discovery call book for somewhere between $75 and $100. Now, this is a metric that we like to look at because ultimately I don't care what a lead costs. I care what it costs to get somebody on a discovery call because I know that that is going to typically lead to the next step. A lead, if I'm doing more like lead generation, let's say I have content that I have that's like a lead magnet. Okay, you can grow your list and that's fine. You might want to look at your cost per lead. But in a cash or hybrid practice, you're going to have not a ton of lead volume. Like you're not going to have hundreds and thousands of people opting into your content every single month. You want to actually focus on getting people, into a conversation with you or taking the next step. So I like to track what does it cost to get somebody on a discovery call? And what we're seeing is roughly $75 to $100, depending on the market and the ad spend and things of that nature. So we'll just use $100 in this example. Let's say it costs $100 to get somebody on a discovery call. So this next step, they've gone to the discovery call, they're talking to you or somebody on your team. So you've gotten 20 people that have gotten on a discovery call for that $100. Now, you may be able to book them for less than that, but we're talking about people actually talking to you for $100. So let's say it's maybe $50, $75, but you have some drop off from there. So we want to know, all right, how many people are actually on the phone with you for that $2,000? And let's say it's 20, so $100 per individual. Now, you have those conversations and they could go one of two ways. Either they go good or they don't go so great, where people are dropping off. And, if you can't handle the, do you take my insurance question, or what do you, what does this look like? Why would I come see you over somebody else? If you can't actually handle those questions, like this percentage of conversion is going to be really bad. So what we're seeing is the owner, the actual clinician, or another clinician, they're going to convert way higher in most cases than any sort of administrative or office manager and a front desk individual. And the reason is their depth of knowledge and their credibility associated with their actual degree and the level of information that they understand. So in this scenario, let's say that the actual owner is taking the call and they're going to convert at 70% throughput. So 70% is going to be the next sort of step of people that are moving to the eval. So from a discovery call, they say, hey, can you help me? Awesome. We're going to schedule an eval. So they schedule an eval to come in and see you and to see what's going on in person with yourself or one of your staff. So 70% of those people come through. That means 14 people end up coming in for an eval from the 20 you talked to. So 6 dropped off, 6 didn't convert. Whatever the case is, you convert at 70%. 70% are going to come in for an eval. Now let's say another 70% of those people move from a discovery, an actual eval, to doing a plan of care with you, right? So 70% are going to go eval, discovery call to eval, so here, and then from here, 70% are going to become a client and want to do a plan of care, meaning a package up front or spaced out payments, whatever it is you're going to do. But your drop off now from these 14 people is going to be 70% of those 14 people. So your 70% conversion of people in office then wanting to commit to solving a problem is going to leave you with 10 people that are going to commit to a plan of care. The other 4 people are probably going to see you for a couple visits, here and there. Maybe it's only a handful. Maybe they're acute and they don't need to see you for a plan of care. Whatever it is, this is going to be your drop-off percentage. So you're at 70% at each of these steps. So what we want to see is these numbers are really important to track. So what percent of people are coming from a discovery call to an eval, and what percent of people are going from an eval to a plan of care? Because that's going to dictate what our ROI is going to be on our ads, as well as what you're charging, right? So most people that we're working with for a plan of care and a mid sort of term amount of time for a package or a plan of care is around $2,000. So $2,000 per person, and there's 10 people. That means you've generated $20,000 in revenue, in gross revenue for the clinic off of $2,000 in ads, okay? So if you take these two numbers, so 2,000 and 20,000, and you divide 20,000 by the ads you put in, you're going to have a 10x return on ad spend, or a ROI, return on investment. Okay, so that's great. That's actually a phenomenal ROI, and we see a lot of people that we work with that we help get set up for running digital ads. They're at this or maybe even higher, depending on how much they're spending in their market. But really, it comes down to these numbers right here. Do they convert well at the discovery call to eval, the eval to the plan of care? That's going to make a massive difference. And I'll show you an example of what it looks like when we see more drop off here. Okay, so let's say you have the same exact scenario, but in this case, let's say that you're spending $2,000. You're getting the same cost per lead. So same exact audience, same ads, whatever. You're getting 20 people on the phone. But you're only converting at 50% from here to here, right? So from here to here, you got 50%. That means you get half these people are dropping off. Half these people are not even coming in for an eval. So you've gone from 20 to 10. Now, let's say from a conversion standpoint, you're going from 70% to 50% compared to the last example. That 50% drop off from here to here, that leaves you with 5 people that are going to commit to a plan of care. The other 5 are going to, whatever, couple visits, whatever. We're not even adding that into your ROI. But in this example, you have 5 that decide to commit to a plan of care. So that leaves you with $10,000 off of $2,000 in ad spend. So again, if I take this number and divide it into this number, that leaves me with a 5x ROI. Okay, so that means I generated 5 times the amount of money that I put in on the front end for my ad spend for my business. Now, you can actually scale at these numbers. This isn't ideal for local service businesses. If you're bigger and you're aggressively trying to grow, you can actually scale at these numbers. Like we see people, most people can scale at a 3 to 4x of ad spend at scale. That's if you're reinvesting a ton of money back into growing the business. This isn't this is kind of a sketchy way to grow, to be honest with you. I've done both, and I don't prefer to do it this way because it's such every percentage matters so much that a 5x ROI is really not ideal. And the drop off, for the most part, is coming from these areas right here. Okay, so let's assume ads are doing fine and you're getting a call for $75 to $100 that's getting on the phone with you. Then it comes down to your percentages of how you're doing in these areas. I recently spoke to one of our clients yesterday actually about some of these percentages where they're at. And the owner had gone back to taking the initial calls to compare to their front desk. And they went from a 50% conversion from discovery call to eval to a 90%, okay? 9 out of 10 people. So that means of the 20, 18 people came in. And they're converting at 80+% here. So that means they got 9 people that are coming in. They're converting at 80% here. Like they kill it on moving people to a plan of care in office. That means almost every single person that's coming in is going to actually commit to a plan of care. So let's say 15 people out of the 13 convert. They're generating $30,000 in ads or $30,000 in revenue from ads on the front end. Now, this is an example of just effectively trying to improve one drop-off point. And if you have a funnel like this, let's say this whole funnel here, right? You start to look at this, and instead of it being your discovery call, let's say it's 50%, and you bump that up to 90. So just like we did here, and everything else, let's say is 80%. You're going to kill it if you can find the constraint. This is why I said it's important to be a good detective. You need to figure out where your drop-off points are, and then implement a plan to try to change it and track it, right? Like that's basically it. It's no different than making a physical change with somebody. If somebody is trying to lose weight and they're struggling with, whatever, if you have them start to track their food intake, all of a sudden we can say, oh, well, dude, you're drinking a ton of soda. Like if you cut the Coke out, then let's see how your body looks. Let's see how you feel. And then all of a sudden we can change a variable and see how somebody feels physically. And this is what's so interesting for me with the clients that we get a chance to work with. They're all clinicians. Me too. And if you can associate a skill you already have, which is getting physical outcomes with people and understanding how to actually go through a set process, stick to that and be able to understand how things interact, like you can crush it with this if you understand that. It's just you need to reframe the way that you understand how to use your skills on the business side if you're trying to grow a business. So on the marketing side, it all comes down to the objective measures that you're seeing, the actual outcomes from the inputs that you're putting in versus, I think my marketing is working pretty well. I think my ads are doing okay. I think my practices are doing okay. This is what we typically hear. And, hope is not a strategy. It's just, it doesn't work that way. I don't really care how you feel about your business. You need to see what your business looks like in an actual KPI, standard manner to see if you're actually doing it as great as you think you're doing. Or maybe you're doing great in an area that you could reinvest more money into. And that's a really important thing to know as well. So on the marketing side, this is what we want to see from a standard standpoint is that we see 70% throughout this entire funnel, where your discovery calls are converting 70% to an eval to a plan of care, 70% across all your staff. Now that key difference might be that you need a clinician or you need a an owner to actually take that discovery call, that's the hardest call of all, because they're skeptical. They've seen you from an ad. They don't maybe have as much of a warm introduction as a referral. So this is a drop-off point that we see a lot of people struggle with, and eventually they may have to take this over or train a staff member to take this as a part of their job. Maybe it's a clinic director or somebody like that. But being able to have a clinician take those calls will definitely increase throughput there. And then once they get to eval and plan of care, that's really training your staff on an ongoing basis as far as sales is concerned, how you're having conversations with people about the problems they're trying to solve, right? But if you can do this correctly, now all of a sudden you can layer on a predictable marketing approach to generate a 10x ROI. I mean, I would be ecstatic with it. Honestly, if I got a 6x ROI, I would be so ecstatic. Like, that's a great return on investment for damn near any type of marketing. But if you can get a 10 plus, which many of the people that we're working with are, they're spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. That's a game changer for your business, because then the constraint is not new patient volume, because you have to think, you don't just have ads, right? So you'll have ads is driving to the business, right? You've got referrals. And then you also have your local marketing. So this is coming from like people, word of mouth, sending people your way. This is coming from you being involved in your local community. And all of this is going into your clinic. It's all going to your business. So you might get, 33% from all of these, and then it's going to add up to, a huge percentage in comparison to just doing ads or just doing local marketing or just hoping that people are going to refer people your way. Because if you get 10 people here, 10 people here, and 10 people here, now all of a sudden you've got 30 new patients that are coming into your clinic, and it's also broken up in a safer manner where it's not all coming from just one area, right? Like one actual marketing approach that maybe that doesn't work all of a sudden for a number of reasons, especially ads. Ads can change for a lot of reasons that you have nothing to do with, right? When algorithm changes, the big company decides they're going to change, how they want you to set up ads or whatever, and you're trying to figure those things out. It's a hard thing to continue to keep up with, which is one of the reasons why finding a good vendor to do that can make a lot of sense for a clinician. But it puts you in a really stable position with your clinic where now you have a lever where you can really focus more on that. It's hard to drive more referrals, more word of mouth referrals. You can definitely engineer that in, but you can't really change human behavior sometimes, what people are going to do. Local marketing sometimes can happen in bursts. Maybe you have more workshops, or you have more local events, or you're sponsoring more local, races or whatever it is that you're doing at different times throughout the year. And this is something that can help stabilize a lot of that throughout on a month-to-month basis for new patient volume as well. So keep that in mind. If you're going to run ads, these are the really important things to keep in mind. What's it costing me to get a discovery call? How many of those people are moving over to an eval? And then what is my conversion percentage to a plan of care, and how much does that cost? And then you can start to back into what your ROI is for your actual marketing. And this is where you get really predictive and where business starts to be a hell of a lot less stressful. When if I spend $100 on ads, I'm going to make $1,000 back. Like, that's a game that a lot of people would love to play. They'd love to be like, oh yeah, $100 in, $1,000 out. And it may not be as predictable as that, but if it gets pretty close to where, over the course of a year, it levels out to that, man, what a great place to be for you to be able to scale your business. So if this, hopefully at this point, makes sense to you, hopefully if you are running ads and doing marketing, this gives you a really good idea of like what numbers you should be looking at, what percentages of drop off that we want to be able to see at scale, and what you should be tracking. Because now it should be very clear as to like what you should look at and what you need to improve. If you're not doing any of this and you want help figuring out how you can actually implement this stuff into your practice and track the right things and make sure that you're not just wasting your money by putting it into Facebook, Google, Instagram, whatever it is that you're doing, we'd love nothing more than to help you actually get to that point. Just head to physicaltherapybiz.com, take a look at what we're doing, learn about our company. If it makes sense that you want to jump on a call with us, we'd love to talk to you. And when we get a chance to chat with you, it'll be the most valuable hour of your time. Like, we'll dig into your business, see where you're at as far as our KPIs are concerned, the businesses that we work with. And at scale, we've helped over 1,000. So we consolidate that information. We can tell you best practices, where your business needs to be and where you fall on that, right? Maybe you're doing great on certain things and not so great on other things. So that's amazing to know. That lets you know what you need to focus on. And if it makes sense for us to help you get there, awesome. If not, that's totally fine too. You'll leave with a lot of information about where your business is and what you're doing well and maybe what you're not doing so well. So if you're interested in that, head to physicaltherapybiz.com. You can book a call with one of our advisors, or you can just download some of our free resources and learn a little bit more about what we're doing. So I hope this helps. I hope that it helps you clear up some of your marketing with your cash-based and hybrid practices. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.